multicasting, 3 platforms running, 20 seconds in. I believe someone told me that apps have changed. Hey, JT, can you help me do a latency test? Also, Alex, when you hear me say go, can you type the number 1? So go. Hey, Janice. $69. Okay, so that's about 15 seconds of a delay. Not much of an improvement if you ask me, but I don't know. Do you feel it's better? Do you feel audio is better? Do you feel video is better? For me, the biggest concern is latency, of course. Yeah, it's pretty bad, right? Yeah. But I guess they're switching, or they haven't fully switched. I don't know. Anyway, that's not going to be the topic for today. It's more about Hong Kong and what's happening these days. I missed the place. I haven't been back for a full year. I haven't been back to Hong Kong for a full year. So I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss some of the things in Hong Kong that mostly food, I guess. Mostly food. But something interesting happened a couple of days back. And when are you going? I have no idea. I have no plans. App's got to go. Go where though? Like, where do I go? Yesterday, I was trying to use Prism. I was trying to use Prism to multicast. And it also had problems shooting out to YouTube. And I think I want to use StreamYard again if I'm using a laptop. Hey, Peter, it's the best we got to do. I guess we have to be patient with apps. Yeah. Hey, Peter, time to go back. Go back to where? Periscope? Yeah, but if I try DLive, I remember giving it a go when it launched a long time ago. Is it anything better, Alex? I'm curious. I'm open to trying things still, of course. But you know, I'm getting a little used to apps, and there is a community here. So we'll see. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much about the problems and whatnot today. So lately, I think Facebook, the company, has been updating their terms of services with users on Instagram and WhatsApp. And I think some of you guys might have seen the announcement. Now, if you ask me what is the announcement about, it's about data usage of the company. And if I remember correctly, they're basically asking users to agree that Casper will be adding a custom RTMP input. Awesome, great job, thank you. Basically, user will need to agree that WhatsApp users will need to share their contacts, their location when they're using the app or something, and also some parts of the data that they have registered with their phone, and share those data for Facebook to use how they see fit. I think that's the general statement in a nutshell, but don't quote me, right? I'm getting more and more annoyed with apps being so slow. I wish we could help them to fix it. Hey, Casper. Casper will be adding a custom RTMP. Right. Uh-oh, Peter. You gotta drink more coffee, man. I don't think you can even sleep 3 hours a night now. I'm still going to be using it, but yeah, I'm not married to it for sure. They're SSN, right? So now the Hong Kong group of people have been quite sensitive to data privacy, or issues like freedom of speech, because not so much of the political environment in the United States, but what they have experienced over the past couple of years with the protests, with the national security law, with the government body changing in Hong Kong. All the tech company been selling your data. No, that I know for sure, right? Turn every broadcast into a Q&A. It's okay. Please wake me up when this release is available for Android. Right, and I feel bad for Android users because they're always left behind as a second-class citizen when it comes to apps update. Like even the fact that Clubhouse is only iOS available, is something that if I were to be an Android user, I would be mad about it, right? Hey, Pablo. So Android users are definitely going to take a shit on things like these. But anyway, I use a MacBook, I use an iPhone, so I'm not complaining. Getting a Google Voice number and disposable email that has nothing to do with my name. That's a good suggestion, Alex, because I do want to have an account that I can communicate with people anonymously. I do have a messenger that I use. It's called Threema, Threema. It's a Swiss-based app that you have to pay for, but it's highly secured, and you don't even need a phone number to register it. Yeah. Clubhouse is only iOS for the moment. Lame. Instagram was iOS only for so long too. Right. Almost want to buy an iPhone for that reason. You should. And an iPhone SE is cheap enough, and it's as good as an iPhone 12 if you don't care about like camera quality and all that, right? So anyway, going back to Hong Kong and privacy issues and how Hong Kong people are more sensitive these days. So I think I made a Facebook post a couple of days ago announcing that I have downloaded the app Signal, and I would love people to use Threema, but the fact that it's not a popular enough app, and I can't have the voice to convince every single friend of mine in Hong Kong to use Threema, I think Signal would be the second best option here because, well, everyone is talking about it. Elon Musk is tweeting about it, and I think it's a natural. And I've also listened to a podcast of the Signal co-founder. I forgot his name, but he had a podcast with Joe Rogan. So, he's also the guy who actually founded WhatsApp to begin with. So I'm aware of that, but I think Signal could be different because of, the current political environment. It's an NGO, they care more about your privacy. So Peter loves Signal, that's great. Telegram I also have, but I also have Telegram. But I think it's more for transferring files. I don't know why. It's more like the perception of it. But when it comes to communication, and I have a big group of Hong Kong people, right? So I have to go with the flow. When most of my Hong Kong friends are saying they're moving to Signal, and for me, it's like, okay, I know what Signal is. And if I can find most of my Hong Kong friends to communicate there instead of using WhatsApp, then I'll switch. Now, I'm not going to abandon WhatsApp because I still have a lot of people using WhatsApp, but I'm definitely mindful of, what are my choices in terms of communication apps, and Signal being a second choice. I think it also it's a statement to Facebook. It's telling Facebook, it's telling Zuckerberg that, well, you can't really keep asking for more and more data from your users, and in the company's benefit, of course, they have incentives to better integrate Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook and utilize the data to monetize, right? That's their bottom line. It's a private company. It's a company for profit. Been on it for a while. I don't trust WhatsApp, Facebook chat anymore, right? But I still use it, right? I still use it because it's great for connecting people. But I definitely will be mindful of the things that I communicate, the things that I talk about. Encrypted doesn't mean squat if they turn over data to third parties. Yeah, that's good input. Who's the NGO? Signal. Signal is an NGO. Well, not non-profit. nonprofit, yes. There's subspace communications from Starfleet. Yeah, but I need a subspace tricorder, Kevin, and I don't have one. So I can't actually use subspace communication when I don't have the device or my friends don't have it, right? Thanks for the Buy Me Donut Award, Casper. Thank you. So there's this mass migration of just friends, majority in Hong Kong. And if you do have my phone number, right, you can, and I'm using my Thai phone number. And if you want to hit me up, just DM me and I'll give you my Thai phone number and we can connect and signal. But what's interesting about the whole move is I think one, more and more people are in fact mindful of what Facebook, the company, is doing. And they're telling them we don't like this, and they're voting with their, with their, user activity, right? I don't know if it's an American registered NGO, but it is a nonprofit organization. Yo, high five award, thank you. So Signal is a communication app that I'm just trying to use, and it's quite similar to the whole interface like WhatsApp or every other communication platforms out there. But this is my main screen when it comes to. I'll share, like, this is what my screen looks like in my iPhone. So I have iPhone Messenger, I have WhatsApp, I have Line, I have WeChat, I have Signal, and I have a lot of apps, because this is the problem, right? I'm a Hong Kong person. We started WhatsApp before Facebook acquired it. And then I live in Thailand, and most Thais use Line as the choice of communication apps, right? So in Thailand, well, actually Thailand, Taiwan, I know Casper is going to correct me on this, and Japan. So for the regions, for the people of Thai, Japanese, and Taiwanese, that's their go-to app when it comes to communications. It's not that they don't use the other thing. I have WeChat. I look forward to streaming again with perhaps once we have to update. Thank you for the super hearts, David. Yeah, I have to, because I have like my Thai friends that I need to connect with. I have my Hong Kong friends and they use WhatsApp. I have my Chinese friends, and so they have WeChat, right? And they can't use anything else because they're behind a firewall. And then not to mention about the DMs on other social media platform, right? And then I have American friends who they prefer to use the iPhone Messenger, which is definitely weird for me because I only have a couple people that uses it, and so I still have it because I have an iPhone. And so when it comes to operating just communications with text communications and a phone, it's quite overwhelming if you think about it. What's your weather app icon? Why is my weather app icon being so big? Because it's a, what do you call it? It's a stack. It's a stack that I have. I have multiple apps in it, so I can swipe. It's my scheduler, my weather app, my clock. It's all in it. It's so easy to miss DMs with this many apps, and that is my problem. Like, Facebook Messenger is something I have to use because there's a lot of people on the first tier of communications if I don't get their number, because, like, if you meet an acquaintance, they don't necessarily want to give you their number right away, but they're very happy to just connect with you over Facebook. So I think Facebook is like the first line of contact. And people these days have been very concerned or aware of how to use Facebook, right? But in Asia, again, Facebook is still a very dominant platform. I have no intention to delete my personal profile because I have business with a Facebook page. Yeah, so there's Facebook Messenger, there's Line, there's WhatsApp, now there's Signal, and there's WeChat, and there's Twitter DMs, because sometimes people also DM me over Twitter, right? So I have, and then there's iPhone Messenger, so there's 7 apps. I feel bad for boomers, or I feel bad for people who can't like manage apps, because it has become so complicated. It's not like intuitive in a sense. There's only one app and you can connect with everyone. You know, uh, widgets. Thank you. Yes, we are near there. Also, I remember good times. By the way, we can't see the current amount of viewers, only the cumulative viewers. Yes, that is also an issue with the mobile app. But in my desktop platform of apps, I can see it says 70 live chats, although I still query the number, whether it's being accurate or not. If YouTube Google gets a decent messenger app, then we're screwed. I have to download it. Whoa. I had a glitch just now, like my screen went black. Can you guys see me? I'm losing track. Too many apps nowadays. That's why apps are copying others and trying to consolidate functions. Yeah, but then now there's like the security issue, data usage issue. You know, back in the days, I remember when smartphones were not that common yet. Yeah, I lost you for a second. Right. I don't know why it's that, but I had a prompter on my screen that said connection lost. So maybe that's my part. And I only have 10% left with my battery. That's not a good sign. I will need to find a power outlet. Actually, I should look for it now because I don't know. Like I had 35% battery on my MacBook to begin with. I'm only down to 10%. Hold on. Hey, do you think we can share a power cord? I'm just gonna, let's see. Yeah. Sorry guys, I'll be back. Let's see how long I can drag this for. Is there?
Are you empty now?
Yeah, 10%.
I can I got this almost. I got a little bit more now.
So. Okay.
Yeah, just give it back when you're a little bit.
You fine with that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just gonna unplug you then.
Yeah, unplug me.
Thank you. There we go. Hey, Yassine, how's it going? I have to plug my. I have to find a plug here. It's all right. Should be better now. Yay! And we're charging. Yeah, so I don't think there's a solution to this. Hello, Brenda. How's it going? By the way, if you're watching from Periscope or Twitter, please give me a follow on Instagram and also YouTube because Periscope's going to be shutting down. And after end of March, you won't be watching this in Periscope. So I'm still going to do streaming on Twitter live, but I'm also multicasting. So Haps is also a good platform to check it out and see if you can connect with other streamers if you're into live stream. Nice looking cord, long looking. It's a long one. Yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting because it's Hong Kong people are quite united in this front. A lot of the people, they see something happening and someone recommends using one app, and people would just go follow right away, right? So now I have, I would say, at least 20% of the people that I'm actively connected with moving to Signal, and I predict that there's going to be half of the communications that I would usually do in WhatsApp that will happen in Signal eventually, and it's interesting to see what that means, right? So, what is the solution with WhatsApp in Hong Kong? It's not so much a solution with WhatsApp in Hong Kong. It's like we're users, right? We're users. We're not customers of WhatsApp. We don't pay to use the app. And Facebook will do whatever they see fit doing. I don't think they're going to say, oh, we're not going to force you guys to sign this agreement of data usage, because Facebook being Facebook, they're always going to be a douche about it. And they know very well that the majority of the people are going to stay in the system because they're so plugged in. They've calculated the attrition rate, right? Is Hong Kong part of China? Yes, it is. It is. It is. And so, because of the political environment, because of Hong Kong people more sensitive of their data privacy these days, it's interesting seeing how it plays out right down the road. And on top of that, I don't know if Americans are aware of this new platform called WeMe, WEME. Have you heard of WeMe? Taiwan is not part of China. Taiwan is actually a country by itself, and it is independently governed by their own government. They have their own currency, they have their own legal system, they have their own military. And so Taiwan is not part of China, although China does claim Taiwan part of their territory. So it's a very sensitive topic if you engage with people who are Chinese, and they would have these arguments and debates and and fight over what Taiwan is. But nowadays, with the identity of Hong Kong, the region, it's pretty clear that it is part of China. And anyone who says it's not, it's kind of, they're not being realistic here. May I ask, Periscope is paying you for broadcasting? No. I wish. Actually, I'm not sure if I want people to pay me to broadcast on their platforms, but Periscope has not paid me anything. There have been viewers giving me tips, but it's not Periscope, the company, right? Um, so WeMe. Someone knows about WeMe. What if China invades Taiwan to take over? There's always that possibility, but it's unlikely. Not in the near future, at least. Um, uh, I mean, um, if you talk about invasion, are you talking about militarized invasion, like military invasion, or another kind of invasion? Because if you're talking about like economic invasion, right, there's definitely influence of companies, of private sectors from China, which is state-owned anyways, but they would go and do business with Taiwan. So there is that influence. But going back to WeMe, and WeMe is supposed to be the new Facebook. And because people in Hong Kong are more aware of the censorship of Facebook, right now there's another movement on top of transitioning from WhatsApp to Signal. And another group of people are saying, well, let's not use Facebook anymore, and let's try this new platform called WeMe instead. So I don't know if you heard about it, but this is what's happening in Hong Kong. But personally, I don't think I want to use WeMe. And I'll tell you why, right? Well, they certainly have to invade, they have invaded the USA. Well, if you talk about invasion in that sense, then I guess China has infiltrated a lot of the countries, but you can also use the same terminology with what USA has done to other countries in the world over the past 30, 40, 50 years. No? China now has the biggest navy. I don't know. Do I use WhatsApp? I do. I do WhatsApp. We, as in Hong Kong people, have been using WhatsApp since the beginning of WhatsApp, since before Facebook acquired WhatsApp. So I think Hong Kong people adopted WhatsApp earlier than most American friends I know of. They were still using. What was the go-to communication apps before iPhone Messenger? I think it was iPhone Messenger, or what was the other one? I can't remember. Is it MeWe or WeMe? I'm sorry if I WeMe, 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 MeWe. Me we. Thank you for the correction, Yasin. It's me we. Yeah, it's thank you. Right. The me we. Thank you for the correction there. Right. So again, I don't know much about MeWe. I don't know who's the founder of it. ICQ AIM. But ICQ and AIM was not in the phone. So I wonder what is the first generation phone communications app that people were using in America? Is there, if there's a Chinatown in US cities, is there an American town in Chinese cities? Um, no, not that I know of. I mean, there are expats regions, but they don't call it like America town because I don't think the social behavior of Americans are the same as Chinese. Like Chinese like to be together. They have a very strong sense of community. I don't think that is as strong as the Americans. Americans are more about individual freedom. They like to do different things, right? But Chinese people are more homogenous. They like to cling together because of the communication and all that, and also the intention of residing in a different country. Like when Americans live in a different country, it's usually shorter term, right? They don't plan to set roots or they don't plan to live there permanently. Most of them are just working. They're trying to do a business, right? When Chinese people migrate to another country, they plan to set roots. They want to have kids. They want to just retire there. So it's a very different behavior mindset, and I think that's why there's more Chinatowns in different parts of the world than I've never heard about like American Town. But there's definitely places like Little India or Little Indian or Little Indian towns. So that's quite common. Pockets of Indians living in different parts of cities outside of India. The Japanese also do the same. So like there's J Town in LA, and I think there's also a small community of Japanese here, although the numbers are not as big as the Chinese community. But that's only a numbers issue here, right? Yeah. How do Chinese feel towards Japanese, vice versa? Hmm. Um, okay, I'll entertain the topic as well because it's also a cultural issue here. Hey, Texas, how's it going, Marna? Um, Nowadays, Chinese Japanese relationship, I suppose, is not as hostile as compared to like a generation before because there's the World War II between Japanese and the whole Asia region, right? And so there's the Nanjing massacre, and so the Japanese were invading China. Um, I want to say 1930s and 1940s, mainly 1940s, early 1940s. And so the Japanese were notorious in the region for invasion, for colonization, and all that, right? So after the World War II, after America has, dropped the two bombs in Japan and they surrender, um, it took a long time for Chinese to build the country back in shape. And unfortunately, because of the history, they were always in a very like bad relationship thing. Now it's been what 70 years, almost 80 years since World War II, and so there's like offsprings of these generation of people being born, and obviously they tend to be more forgetful, for better or worse. And also Japanese has become like a very big superpower, and also they're not like what they used to be anyway because there's no you know Japanese news about how they intend to invade another country for as long as it goes. So the sentiment of Chinese people versus Japanese are not as hostile as like a generation before, definitely. But but anytime there's a competition between the Chinese team and the Japanese team in any kind of sports, right? Uh, there's a strong sentiment on the Chinese side They really want to win at all costs, right? If they have to cheat, they'll always cheat, and the sportsmanship of Chinese spectators are also not that admirable, I want to say. The Japanese are a little bit more timid these days. They don't show hostility as much. Although I think intrinsically the Japanese are also very aware of the history. So they want to compete and they want to win, right? So, they're always going to be a little bit of rivals between the two countries when it comes to competitive events, right? But on a grassroots level, if you're talking about people, right, the younger generation, people my age, I love Japan. I'm a Chinese, right? So I guess I can speak just for myself that I don't think Japan as an enemy. I don't think of them as a competitor. Definitely, I just think of them as another Asian country, and I love their culture. I love traveling there, and I love the people. And it's and for me, like Japan is, I think, the most favorite country to travel to, time after time after time. Right. Fascinating discussion, regional geo. I know, Peter. I know. I know. People don't stick to the topic. Different forms of government too. Yes. Yeah. Very different forms of government. We're all being censored like us in America. Well, Stephen, if you talk about censorship, what your experience is not even 1% of what the Chinese people are experiencing. So, as much as you feel like you're being censored in America, I can assure you that you are not worse off than the majority of people living in Asia. Thailand has laws, and so we can't speak against the royal family members. That's criminal offense. Why we get sent to prison if I were to say anything bad against the royal family of Thailand. You can't speak against the Chinese government in China, and if you do, you disappear. You literally disappear if you have a voice of more than, I don't know, like 10 followers or something. So censorship is a matter of perspective depending on where you're from, And so you feel like, oh, Twitter is censoring, it's blocking Trump, and it's censoring the right wing activist, right? And I say, okay, yes, it is a certain form of censorship, but the question is it reasonable? And is it for the better or for worse of the Americans or the community? Now that's arguable, and I don't want to go into that debate. But I just want to tell you guys, when you say, oh, I don't have my voice anymore, my account got banned, I lost my freedom of speech, I assure you what you're experiencing compared to what our lives are in Asia is very, very different. You think China wants to be number one superpower of the world, economically, military, manufacturing. I can't speak for the Chinese government, but there's definitely that sense of competitiveness. I don't think they want to dominate the world. I don't think they want to send troops in other people's country and say, you should not do that form of government. You should do my style of government. That's what Americans approach with when it comes to world dominance, right? There's economic benefits of invading a country. They make up an excuse and say they have human rights problem there and they want to overturn the government and make it into a democratic society. I'm talking about the case of Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, right? And so they send their troops and they say this is for the sake of peace making, right? That's Americans' tactic. China doesn't do that. So does China want to be number one? I guess everyone wants to be number one, but how they do it is what matters more than whether they want to or not, right? You feel me and your countrymen and women. No, you can't feel us because uh, you're far, far, far from being censored. True censorship for me is not about crying fire in a theater and saying you have the right to do it, when in fact there's detrimental effects when people do it continuously and irrationally, right? So I think I have a different definition of freedom of speech than most Americans uh, think about the term. We don't want any of it. Constitution preserves our God-given rights. I think God-given rights includes free will, but whether free will means freedom of speech regardless of other people's safety, that I don't know. Sorry for my Chinese brothers and sisters. George Bush did that to Iraq. Well, George Bush represented the U.S. of A. Right? Why has this become a political discussion? This is not where I want to bring the conversation to. Has China reserved its stance on having kids? Do they allow more births to have more Chinese population? Yes, they have changed the one-child policy to two-child policy just a couple years back. So you can have two children. Our freedom comes from Jesus Christ. Okay, sure. It's our God-given right. Right. I'm a Roman Catholic, but I don't think I have the same values as, some of you guys. But, it's okay to be you and it's okay to be me. That's all I'm going to say. Um, so, yeah. What else? So, yeah, Signal, right? Signal. I don't know who else is watching here. Um, and I definitely don't want this to be a political topic about USA. Like, obviously, I don't know enough, and I don't want to be an expert about it, and I don't want to talk too much about it. But if it is anything about Asia, Thailand specifically, because I'm living here as a Hong Kong person, and anything about Hong Kong that you want to ask, I'm more than happy to discuss. But yeah, right now, as I mentioned before, WhatsApp is interesting. I don't know what's going to happen to WhatsApp in a couple of years down the road with my friends in Hong Kong. And if it turns out that most people move to Signal and nobody uses WhatsApp in Hong Kong, right? I'm not talking about the rest of the world. Then I wonder what Facebook will do about it, right? I love Chiang Mai. Awesome. How's my Thai? My Thai is a little bit better than a 3-year-old. That's all I can say about my Thai, Peter. But I'm taking lessons twice a week, trying to pick up words here and there. I'm definitely trying to get better at it. I'm better at listening than speaking. I can read the alphabets. I can pronounce very simple words, but that's to the extent of my time. The Signal a possible replacement for Twitter. I didn't think it was built the same way. Signal is more like a communications app, whereas Twitter is more like a town square that you want to broadcast within that construct of 280 characters and maybe sharing some videos and all that. Sounds like you're Mongolian. Do you speak Mongolian? That's amazing. How the hell do you speak Mongolian? Signal could be the next move, let's say, if WhatsApp shuts down to the world. Well, the thing is, I don't know what is the market share of WhatsApp in the whole messenger communication apps, right? But again, I know Thailand, Japan, and Taiwan, at least these three countries do not depend on WhatsApp, the app, right? They lean more towards using Line. So Line is their messenger app to go to. And I think this is also similar to other countries. They might have their choice of communications app to use. So I know WhatsApp has a lot of users, but they might be the number one or number two biggest messenger usage in the market, but it might decrease. I was in Mongolia for a few years as a freelance journalist. That is very cool, Peter. I need to, you know what I need to do, Peter? With you, I think we'll need to do a whole interview and talk something other than the ham stuff. In your free time, of course. I don't want to do it when you're working. What? Yeah. Oh, Yasin speaks Mongolian as well. Amazing. I didn't know there's people I know of that can speak Mongolian. But that's interesting. Right. So again, I think it's just one of these whole chat apps that I want to update you guys what's happening in Hong Kong, even though I'm not living there right now. I moved to Thailand about 4 years ago. I remember someone asking me that. I should know hello in Mongolian. Oh, okay. uh, but what's happening in Hong Kong is quite depressing, I have to say. Who doesn't speak Mongolian? It's the new French. um, so I want to keep in touch with my friends, and I definitely want to keep you guys updated with things happening in Hong Kong, especially knowing there's nobody else scoping much about Hong Kong nowadays. Not Jonathan J.K. Penguin Six is left. Zora is in Spain. There's Steve, radio. There's Steve, a radio host, and he has his daily show, and he also streams in Periscope, and I'm grateful for that. But other than Steve, I don't know anyone who would talk about Hong Kong on a regular basis. But Steve has its limitations as well. I'd love to come on with no discussion of apps. Yeah, but don't let Mark know about it, right? What message used often in Japan? Line. So Line is the app, Line. We use in Thailand. Most people use in Japan, and most people use in Taiwan. I need Jonathan J.K. to join Habs. Yeah, I don't want to persuade him to do anything because he's a stubborn old geezer. Or he's old enough, I guess. So, like the moment you tell him to do something, there's just going to be more resistance. He's the kind of guy who needs to figure it out himself and think, "Oh, okay, I want to do this." And it's not because of anyone telling me to do this, because I have come to the conclusion that this is the best option for me to do certain things. So it would be counterproductive if I tell him to use apps. It would be more productive for me to tell him not to use apps than telling him to use apps. But again, I think I should wrap up the stream. And if you're watching me from Periscope, I urge you to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, John M. Ho. And also check out Haps if you are a streamer, or if you want to engage here, or even send me tips, because there is a monetization model here on Haps that I can benefit from. I speak Mandarin. Fujianese. I don't speak Fujianese. I speak Cantonese. That's the dialect that we use in Hong Kong. And then there's Mandarin, which is the official language in China. And I speak both of them. But I won't say I'm super good at Mandarin. I have an accent. Is Zora on Haps yet? Zora hasn't been streaming much. She focused more on IG stories and maybe TikTok. Yeah, you have friends in Hong Kong. Cool. Line, yes, Line. So yeah, if you wanna be cheeky and use some other app that your friends are not using, maybe you can try out Line. It's pretty cute. What Line is good is their stickers. Their stickers. They have really cute and funny stickers. And I think Signal also has stickers, but Line created this whole movement of using stickers, and stickers are way better than emojis. Hello, 鄧生早晨. Emojis is like a primitive version of stickers. Stickers are way more animated. They're just more diverse, and it's so much fun to use stickers if you enjoy using it, right? I know some people don't even enjoy using emojis, but I think nonverbal communication, text is one way of doing it. When you add stickers in your communication, there's another layer that I quite enjoy doing it. Where's my spiky hair? I don't know. The wax I'm using is not spiky. Is it spikier now? Right. So, anyways, so thanks for the tips. Thanks for subscribing, and also check out my YouTube channel. I just remember my YouTube channel is actually John Ho, not John M Ho. This is how much I have neglected my YouTube channel, but I am streaming through YouTube Twitter Live, Periscope right now. So yeah, you can also catch me on these platforms. Okay, time to get working. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.